What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Chip One Media. We talk about everything tech. Okay, we feature companies, individuals, thought leaders, innovators, and with me today is Ashok from Quantumsoft. Ashok, thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate your time. You're a very busy guy, so thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Franco, for let me join you on this podcast.
And then let's get to it. For everyone's gonna watch and listen to this, give us an idea, okay? Give us an overview of the electronics industry in India. The landscape. How is it different from its Western and Eastern counterparts?
Yeah, the electronics industry in India. You know that in 2014, after the Modi government came into the power, the Make in India concept is very much high, and they are boosting this concept towards Make in India and Made in India. Not only concentrated to Make in India, but it is also Made in India, where the technology is also being transferred to India. Slowly and gradually, things are changing. The electronics industry. You know that China is the major player in the electronics industry currently. From 2014 till today, period of COVID as well, 90% of the foreign companies, even Indian companies, has established their units, manufacturing units, even their R&D setups in India. And we are also very much concerned about getting the R&D technology transfers. We are very much into the TOT, the transfer of technology into the India, and setting up each and everything in India, from making a small chip to making a mobile phone or for a tablet or for any of the electronic devices. If you I can say that many of the major players of electronics industry, just like in mobile segment, if I say Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi, Foxconn, Apple had concentrated their three manufacturing units in India. Then into the electronics as well, the EV market is very much boosting currently, and people are coming to India. Three of the American companies also had integrated their manufacturing of electronics in India, in the Chennai location and in Noida location. So this is how the things are growing up. And whatever the year on year growth, if I say now that CAGR, if I can contribute about that. So CAGR has gone from in the electronics industry from 2014 till 2022. It's 33.7%,
Wow.
and it's a very good growth, I can say. Even many of the Chinese factories are coming to India because people are very much concentrated for getting the job done in India. And also, you know that the Indo-China war and the America and China Cold War is happening, and that
Mhm.
is the major reason of getting the American companies also shifting their manufacturing units, their industrial backgrounds to Indian premises. Also, the Indian premises are cheaper in the terms of
Mhm.
currency conversion, the manpower, the skill set. Because see, India has the skill set both for the hardware and the software. It is not only comprises of the only for the hardware. So that is the reason also people are coming and setting up their offices, R&Ds and manufacturing units in electronics industries. So this is how the Indian industry is changing. And in coming 2020 till 2024, now we are going to be the biggest manufacturer of electronics product in pan world, I can say that.
It's the whole drive behind make in India, make for India, but at the same time you make for the world. And and I think I love the fact that you mentioned that India is the hotbed not only for the hardware but also the software. I mean the technological advances that the industry is making. Another fun fact is that for the past couple of years there have been more than 40 unicorn companies being or unicorn startups that was generated in India, and
Yeah.
it almost like $60 billion over the past 3-4 years, 12 billion on 2020 alone. I mean, this was during
Yeah.
the time of COVID, and it clearly shows the development within the industry of the country. Now, in terms of the electronics industry, when COVID happened, the world almost shut down. Supply chain problems, chip shortage. How has India's industry, particular sectors in India, able to handle the situation when it comes to the chip shortage? How were they able
Yeah,
to handle this?
when it comes to the chip shortage, now see, the semiconductor industry is a very small industry, which is comprised between two or three countries. Like wafers were built up in America, and the silicon was very much built up in Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
and the complete manufacturing of the ICs and all were done in China, and some of the part of Vietnam, they had shifted some of the units there in Vietnam. The part is ki once the COVID hit na into the industries, the wafers were very much in less quantity. The IC were very much hit, and that is the reason how the prices suddenly goes up. Even to the displays, the prices goes up in Indian industry also, because once the COVID hit, the people goes into onto the digital campaigning, and digital performance is driven currently. Just like the offices were shut, and we people are working from home, and it's completely online. For that purpose, we are required of the laptops or mobile phones. This had increased the potential of the supply chain. The industries were shut down, at the verge of shutdown for 3 to 4 months, and this led the industry to slow down the productions. Just like after the first wave also, there was a second wave, and in second wave also many things had changed down. So people were very much not good of getting the things done. So that is the reason the government of India had initiated a major playback role in this thing, and introduced the PLI scheme. This is called performance linked incentives, and they had secured in billions of $23 billion PLI scheme they had introduced for setting up the semiconductor units in India. Whatever the requirement we people have in terms of electronics industry, like mobile phones, LED TVs, audio systems, the servers and the laptops, and other than that, the EV industry, because India is also boosting their EV industries, and by 2024, India is going to be the complete EV setup as per the government, and as per the role what we are playing up. So this has enhanced the government has supported many of the new startups, even to the old startups, and even to the old companies as well. Tata, then Reliance, then Adani Group is there. They had also supported many of the Chinese. Even Foxconn is willing to participate in getting this. Vedanta is willing to get into the chip industries. Tata and Vedanta are the major player who are going to establish their manufacturing unit, and it is around $230 billion industry going to be by 2024. And this is how the government is supporting in terms of getting the chips. And other than that, the major players, just like if I say a few names, like Foxconn, which
Mm-hmm.
is a major manufacturer of Apple, Wistron, then Mi, Vivo, Oppo, Samsung, they had already looking forward to the crisis what to be happen in the next future. They had allocated the industry the chips for their 4-year plan, and already they had planned up for their next 4 years, that
Mm-hmm.
they had this manufacturing. So this shortage is majorly happening with the small players, not with the big
Mm.
players, because you know that if there is a quantity in this crisis time, the many of the small players had declined their business. In terms of getting the revenue terms, in complete overall picture of electronics industry, we had increased the revenue of around 3.7% from 2020 to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the things changed up, and people had very much taken this as a positive thing. Many has invested a lot into the semiconductor industry and the EV industry and the mobile industry.
Talking about the mobile industry, we'll talk about the EV industry a little bit more later. But when it comes to the mobile industry, how has this shortage affected the releases of mobile phones? I mean, if we're
Yeah,
if we're talking
in
about Apple, Samsung, I mean, Apple clearly stated that, what do you call this? They're gonna push the release of their new phones. But what about the other brands, especially the mid-range phones like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo? What else?
Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung. Okay, so what about their how about their how has this affected their supply chains, their lead times, and the releases of these new phone variants?
If I say about the releases and the lead time for I will start with the Indian players.
Hmm.
In India,
Yes.
there were two major players which were having the major role in the mobile industry, where one was Micromax and another was Lava. And this shortage of chipset, and people had lessened their units, because the price rises very much. Once the price that was around, if I say in INR, 6,000 rupees or 7,000 rupees, it goes up to 10,000 rupees
Wow.
in the INR. The 3 to 4,000 rise in the pricing na, Indian player didn't succeed in this, because they
Hmm.
had a less volume to incorporate. But if I talk about Mi, Vivo, Oppo, they had certainly releases their product in a short while, because previously
Hmm.
Mi was launching every month a new phone. a new
Yes.
model every month. But now they are releasing around 2 or 3 months later or 4 months later, depending on the supply chain and depending on the chip quantity they had. So this is how the little things changed up. But they had taken their previous models in the
Hmm.
pipeline, and they had just released that model only to get into this picture. Also, there was a very much crucial role played by the 5G, because you
Hmm.
know that every country is very much looking forward to come with the 5G networking portfolio. So that is also a reason where the chips, the new companies like Samsung, Oppo, Vivo, they are just planning to launch the 5G phones rather than going
Hmm.
on to the 4G phones and feature phones or 3G phones. The feature phone market has drastically got down in this pandemic season because the price range were very much higher, and the smartphone was very much good. Even Jio had launched one of the smartphone with Google, and they had invested a lot in Jio for these things. So
Hmm.
this is how the things goes on into the Mi and Samsung and Oppo and Vivo, because they also had hit by this supply chain disturbance and the shortage. They had just limit their launching of the models from one model per month to 3 months or 4 months. But they had not means they had retained their supply chain to fulfill the need of the customer. And
Hmm.
also the major part is ki people had started buying a lot of phones, because everybody was needed of if you had a family of four, so you need a phone for yourself, a phone for your kids, and if your wife is also working, so she also need a phone. Previously it was not like kids do not have the phones,
Yes.
because the schooling is completely on the phone or the laptops, and mostly people are willing to go onto the phones rather than going onto the laptop, because due to the non-availability of electricity or the Wi-Fi systems, so limitation of these things, so people are looking forward to go onto the mobile phones so that they
Hmm.
can use the SIM, and after charging they can use it for a longer time. So this
Hmm.
also increase the demand of the phones. So also, and you know that Flipkart and Amazon, these are the players. They also introduced their own brand. Flipkart had introduced their brand Marq for smartphones, and they are having their smartphones on their platform, and they are selling a good numbers. So this is how the demand increases. This is for the bigger players, but for the smaller players like Nokia, this. Lava and Micromax, which are the Indian players, but they had certainly loosened their business proposition because they do not have such bandwidth, and
Mm.
can say that they do not have that vision completely about maintaining the supply chain for a long period.
Hmm.
That's why they do not met the price point as well. They had lost their long term businesses.
Now, speaking of the PLIs and all the economic mitigations and the challenges that's meeting the industry right now, do you see other factors that affect all of this? With, I mean, with the restrictions, I mean, with the number of people, and now they have to meet demand at the same time. So, how are they doing this? How are they going about this?
See, if I say about the meeting of the requirements now, it is obvious after COVID, many of the jobs has been many people are sacked out and they are jobless currently,
Hmm.
because each and every organization comes and run on to the limited people. But yeah, certainly after this end of the COVID and things once change, it will grow up again, because there is a huge demand and there is a huge gap coming between, because people the companies are looking for meeting the supply chain, meeting the demand of the customers, but they
Hmm.
do not have the proper resources currently due to this COVID, and also the business hit happens, so that's why they are not willing to hire more and more people for
Mm.
a certain work. And also every time it is happening lockdown and other thing, so has to restrict the people movement even into the factories. They are planning up to maintain each and everything, but you know that if COVID is happening and people are getting affected, so the production units will certainly has to close that
Hmm.
if somebody is found COVID positive or something like that. So this had made a long means a bigger challenges for the industries to run with. But certainly government had given many of the things, and they had initiated a long term benefits for the industries as well
Hmm.
as to the employees. So that's why people are streamlining this thing. And what about the if I say for the supply chain demands meeting of the people, so certainly once the COVID hit last, because in 2022 again this Omicron variant had hit a very hard. And this there is also Chinese New Year in between. So after Chinese New Year we are just planning out ki okay, the things will goes better, and in the next financial year around 2022 and 2023 the things will go good. And
Hmm.
government had also given the many of the initiatives, and looking forward to new technologies, new companies are coming to India, new investors are investing in Indian industries. So this is boosting up the mobile industry as well as. And you know that in mobile industries the rollable phones,
Hmm.
flip phones, these are coming into the pictures. So these will be certainly be driven once the supply chain will be properly maintained. If the chain will break down, they will not able to provide the price point proper to the customer, and they can't meet the certain expectations of the customer in terms of rollable phones or the flip phones.
And that properly, I mean, that segues to my next question. India has this very rich history of commerce. I
Yeah.
mean, early civilization, India was there, and it's a huge player up until now. So, in your expertise, Ashok, in terms of does geopolitics come into play here? What are the government regulations? Because India wants to go to the next frontier. We're going more mobile phones. You want to increase your wafer capacity, your semiconductor manufacturing capacity. Where does geopolitics come into play? Internal regulations. I think internal regulations is the more apt term for this, especially when it comes to taxes, tariffs. Of course, the government would want to protect. They want to source locally, but demand would always succumb to that. So, how do you see all of this playing along?
See, this is a very good question, and from 2016 onwards, we are looking for, we are seeing this that government had increased the custom duties over the import of the SKDs, even to import of the CBU, means complete box units, increase the development in India, to increase the manufacturing in India. This is how in this current budget also the government had relaxed some of the chip duties. Reason being, there is a huge supply and demand issues coming up, because customers are required of, but there are shortage of the mobile phones, the electronics gadgets, and everything. So that's why government had relaxed something, but at the same time they had introduced certain reforms, just like PLI scheme, then
Mm-hmm.
MSIPs, then tax reforms into the GST inputs coming up, the export setups they had introduced, so that it can able to increase the people to invest into the electronics industry to get things done in India. They are also government is very much focused on getting the technology driven companies in India. Not only they are focused for making the assembling the phones, they are just looking forward now making India phones. And for that purpose they are also planning up the Niti Aayog is planning for this. The Central Ministry for the Electronics, the MIT is planning. The TEC is planning for getting the technological driven sourcing in India, and that's why they are supporting increase of getting the R&D centers in India. For that, each and every state governments are willing to providing alluring features for the investors to come to their state and to establish their units, their R&D center, their offices, so that they can increase the employment as well as increase the make in India and made in India policies on a better level.
And then let's talk about electric vehicles. I mean, what do you think was the start of the shift or the focus of Indian manufacturers into they're allocating resources for the creation or the growth of the EV industry there in India?
Yeah, in EV industry, I can say, because you know that the petroleum products are very much on a higher pricing in India currently. The petrol touches 100 rupees and the diesel touches around 80 or 90 rupees, even 100 rupees
Hmm.
in some of the states. So due to this increase in sudden increase in the petroleum products, now each and every people are moving towards the electrical vehicles because they are getting cheaper and cheaper. Even CNG is not available everywhere. Few of the Indian companies like Ola,
Mm.
then LML is there, TVS is there, Hero is there. So they are just increasing their scooter brands to get the EV vehicles established in India and surpassing all the petrol vehicles from Indian market. And the secondary part is for the vehicles, just like if I say about the just like what the petrol vehicles we are using, the petrol cars and diesel cars we are using, even government is very much restricting about the pollution
Mhm.
hazards, and also the price point which is going up and up for the petroleum product. People are willing to shift to electrical vehicles, but there is a certain challenges putting up setting a electrical vehicles for my own use. Let's say I am going to buy an electrical vehicle, a major challenge of getting it charged,
Mhm.
because there is less amount of the charging points there, and also the charging point of any of the vehicle is very much high. It takes around
Mhm.
3 to 4 hours to have around 40% to 60% charging. So for that also government had introduced many of the reforms in terms of technology, that how to reduce that charge time. Also they had given many, they had means invited many of the tenders for setting up the electrical charging points. Even the
Mhm.
battery changing banks onto the petrol pumps they are establishing. Now, currently for the scooter and for the two wheeler vehicles, the battery banks are established, but for four wheeler it is very much on a tougher note. And you
Mhm.
know that the bigger companies like even LG, Xiaomi, Foxconn, then Tesla is already into the EV vehicles, then Oppo, and they are also planning to launch their EV by 2024.
Wow.
Yeah, even
2024.
yeah. Oppo had already initiated their EV planning in India as well. They had their R&D center in India, so they had initiated that point as well for using the EV setup, and they are in talk with the many of the people around. Even
Mhm.
Ola is also planning. Then Mahindra is already into it. Tata Motors are already into it, and Tata Motors for setting up the EVs complete supply chain unit in India only itself, the complete ecosystem development in India for the EVs. They are setting up the semiconductor industries as well in India, and because government has a very good scopic scenario for, because they had a vision of getting the EVs in next 20 means 2024 or 2025. They are willing to establish complete EV setup in India rather
Nice.
than booking for the petrol and diesel engines and
So are
major
there
players.
gonna be incentives for the use of EVs?
Yeah, and for EVs, na, the government had because the price point is high, because there is a less production currently going on, so price is almost high. So government is giving the subsidies who are going to buy for any of the let's say I am going to buy an electrical vehicle, I am getting a subsidy of around 10% or 15% to purchase for electric vehicles. Even the tax benefits are given to the manufacturers who are providing this electrical vehicles. So this is how government is supporting the industry in, as well as to the customers, so that consumer can reach to the industrial industries and the brands to purchase for the EV vehicles and all the things.
With all of these developments, Ashok, do you think is it safe to say that there's a possibility that India can really manufacture like China in
No,
terms of
India,
capacity, in terms of
yeah, India has
everything?
a very good capacity and it has a big market capacity than China. I can assure that to you, because see, India, the brain of Indian people are very much into, if you had said that this has to be done, Indian people can do anything.
Mhm.
So that is the reason. And also once the government is supporting them, because see, each and every government is looking forward to make any of the country develop. We are a
Mhm.
developing country. China is already a developed country, so they had a saturation point. From beyond that, they can't move forward. But India is currently in a developing phase, so we do not has reached the saturation. So we are having the you can say the hunger of getting a new things to be in India and getting the economy of five
Mhm.
trillion dollars by 2025. What our government vision is, and our prime minister used to say every time that we had a vision of getting the $5 trillion economy by 2025.
And I will echo
And
your sentiments because data shows that India has turned in or has produced so many engineers, so many IT people, so many software developers. And now that you're telling me that you are still considering India as a developing country, what is your outlook for 2022 onwards? I mean, with all of the things that
see,
we just discussed, like
by
20 to
2020,
22 projections.
yeah, in 2022 now, the brain drain has very much lessened currently, because many of the companies are establishing their units, their offices in India. So the people who were going to outside India for their livelihood and for a better lifestyle, they are just blocking into India because they are getting the same thing in India. Even the
Mhm.
salary structure, what people were getting 2 year back now, this current scenario had changed. Many of the startups are giving a good salary package to hire a good resource. Even currently, many of the companies, even you can say that Tata, Reliance, then Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Samsung, they are providing a good source of money to their engineers, their managers, their workers, and they are also supporting in terms of the health, the stability, so that there would be no brain drain from Indian side. Just like previously, na, even a few years back, we were also planning to move out to India, out to US, or even to Korea or Japan or China, so that we can learn a lot of things. But now the technology is also coming to India. The major part of the electronic, because electronics technologies are not very much well versed and very much not well prepared onto the means dex level in India. But now it is coming to the dex level in India, and we people are just working on that.
And
So
speaking of working on these things, where does Quantumsoft come into the equation? You and your company are providing really good products and services to the economy, to industries. So, what does Quantumsoft play? How does Quantumsoft play its role in this entire equation?
yeah, the I just little brief about the Quantum Softech, what Quantum Softech does. So Quantum Softech was initially a software development company. We were into the IT development and all. We had find out there are major things which is happening in terms of IoT devices,
Mhm.
because nowadays na technology are driven in IoT as well. In terms of getting that manufacturing this devices also on board and software, so we are making a bridge between the hardware and software. So currently we are supporting for the software applications separate. We are into the SaaS manufacturing, the ERPs, for the embedded system programming and all the things. Other than that, we are also into setting up a SaaS based systems for IoT devices, and we had tie up with a few of the industries for the IoT, getting the IoT devices from China and Korea. Now, the second, the most which I am good of is introducing the technology to the electronics industry, because my complete background was from electronics and mobile industry. I had been working with for Intex, then for MTech Mobile, then UI phones, and also for currently we had our client. In this Flipkart, the Marquee brand, we had established this. So this is how we are establishing some of the Indian brands, and even we are supporting to new players to come into the mobile industries, and we are supporting them to establish their own technology setup, not only the manufacturing setup, their own technological setup. We have been partnering with the major IDH, the integrated device manufacturers, who are having the design platforms with them. We are also willing to tie up with Qualcomm, because Qualcomm has a very different set of investment portfolio driven into. So we are very much focused about designing the architect besides for our customer, our clients. So we just design the architect for our clients, and we are just tie upping the client with the major chip suppliers like Qualcomm, MediaTek, the Uni SoC. So this is how
Mhm.
we are working, and we are making a bridge between the IDH and the our customers.
How do you see mobile technology? I mean, the industry will automatically grow, but the consumption or the seamless technology and the integration of mobile technology into our everyday lives, how do you see this panning out in like 3 to 4 years' time? Because now our phones are getting connected with our EVs, our phones are connected to our homes. And then with the proliferation of 5G, increased consumption or increasing use of mobile technology from tomorrow onwards.
Yeah, see, the part is that everywhere there is a need of mobile phones currently, because things are going on to the digital. Even you are going to pay something, it is required of a mobile phone. If you are just from once you wake up in the morning till once you are going to the bed, even on to the bed you are sleeping, you are just monitoring
You're
your
with your phone.
heartbeat. Yeah, you are monitoring your heartbeat and your all the data of the sleep and all the things even onto the mobile phones. So each and everything, you can say that we are not mobile is controlling us currently. This is
Mhm.
what happening to this extent. Now people are very much looking forward to have a single unit device which can be working as a mobile phone, as a laptop, and as an all needs. They can commute through a single device. So nowadays, what the phone manufacturers, the laptop manufacturers, and the tablet manufacturer are doing, they are combining each and everything within a single phone, a single device. If something is major to be done, just like programming or something like that, then only you are required of mobile phones. Else, you are having sorry, a laptop. But if you are having a small things to do, just like making a presentation or putting up any of the webinars or something like that, you can handle it through your mobile phones. Even Excel sheets we are making on mobile phones currently, the presentation, the Excel sheets, and all the things we are doing onto the mobile phones currently. So this technological driven things na, each and every mobile industry player are had understand this thing, and they are just now days they are making the phones on that thing. We had a small screen previously, but now it
Mhm.
is 6 inches phones. And
Yeah.
also
Look
also
at
they
my
are make
phone, man. It's like it's big.
yeah. And now it is the new role of foldable phones and the rollable phones, which can be of 6 inch and which can be after opening, it can be of 8 inches or 10 inches, and this will work as in your screen for laptop or a screen for as a tablet. So we are just saying it as tablet, but it is going to work for each and every things of your daily uses.
Y-
Small device, but it can expand and it can allocate. So now you can see the Samsung had already launched the foldable phones, Oppo had already launched the foldable phones, even they had also planned for the rollable displays. Although LG had moved out from the mobile industry, but they had introduced the rollable phones way back later in 2016 only.
the increasing use and introduction of 5G into the equation, are we seeing a shift in older models of mobile devices getting obsolete or they won't be
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to adapt to this technology?
No, already 3G devices is obsolete from Indian market,
Hmm.
and now 4G devices is going to obsolete because in 2022 in the new budget, government had already announced that we are going to launch 5G by end of 2022. People are having this 4G phones, they are not able to use the 5G. And once any new technology is introduced in any of the country or any of the marketplace, na, people are very much looking forward to get and grab that thing rather than going into the previous models. Just like I am giving an example of 4G. Once the 4G had launched, Geo had launched the plan for free. The 4G SIMs they had launched for free, and that is the reason only the 3G industry completely shut down. Nobody was willing to have the 3G phone in their hand. They are just willing to have the 4G phones. Major brands, major players into the mobile industry, they all had launched the 4G phones, and all the 3G inventories they had to shift to another countries where there was not availability of 4G, or they had to scrap it down. This was happened, and same is going to happen with the 4G. That is the reason also the new companies na, just like Xiaomi, Samsung, Oppo, Vivo, this Nokia, even Lava, and this Micromax, they are just
Mhm.
looking forward to launch their 5G models rather than launching their 4G models.
We are at like the cusp of a transition here. I
Yeah,
mean,
in 2022 you will be finding out the 4G will be getting obsolete and the 5G devices will be into the market, because already 90% of the new models are in 4G, sorry, 5G,
mhm.
and they are not with only 4G.
That is so much to take. I am going to rewatch this episode. Ashok, thank you so much for your time. Please, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about Quantum Soft? Please tell them.
The Quantumsoftech is very much worse for their technological driven performance and services what we are offering. And we had the major clients from US in market, European market, and even the Middle East market. We are
Mhm.
also into the travel technologies. We are into the SaaS based businesses, in the lifestyle management, and into the medical devices. Other than this electronic industry,
Mhm.
we are only present in India and in China, and we had the offices located in Germany and US both. So we had a presence of our offices in Germany and this US.
Where can
And
people find you? Guys have a website? Are you on
yeah,
social
we had
media?
an
Yeah.
yeah, we had website of it's www.quantumsoftech.com, and
Mhm.
we are also available on LinkedIn, social media. You can search for Quantum Softech, you will
Mhm.
find out. And we are based in Noida
Mhm.
currently, and we had an offices in Noida.
Ashok, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. Thank you for doing this. We definitely learned a lot. This is Franco from Chip One Media. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, bye bye.